Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Goldilocks. She had golden hair. One day, she went out in the forest to play. She saw a cute cottage and knocked on the door. When nobody answered, she opened the door and went inside. There was no one inside, but on the kitchen table, Goldilocks saw 3 bowls of porridge. Goldilocks was hungry, so she took a bite from the largest bowl. "This porridge is too hot," she said. She took a bite from the middle-sized bowl. "This porridge is too cold," she said. Then she tried the smallest bowl. "This porridge is just right," she said, and ate up all the porridge. Goldilocks was tired now, and so she sat on the largest chair. "This chair is too big," she said. She tried the middle-sized chair. "This chair is too big too," she said. Then she tried the smallest chair. "This chair is just right," she said. But the chair broke. Goldilocks was even more tired now. So she went upstairs, and there she saw 3 beds. She tried the largest bed. "This bed is too hard," she said. She tried the middle-sized bed. "This bed is too soft," she said. Then she tried the smallest bed. "This bed is just right," she said, and she fell asleep. Soon, the 3 bears came home. "Someone's been eating my porridge," said Papa Bear. "Someone's been eating my porridge," said Mummy Bear. "Someone's been eating my porridge, and they finished it all," cried Baby Bear. "Someone's been sitting on my chair," said Papa Bear. "Someone's been sitting on my chair," said Mummy Bear. "Someone's been sitting on my chair, and they broke it," cried Baby Bear. "Someone's been sleeping in my bed," said Papa Bear. "Someone's been sleeping in my bed," said Mummy Bear. "Someone's been sleeping in my bed, and here she is," cried Baby Bear. Goldilocks woke up and saw the 3 bears. "Help!" she shouted, and ran out into the forest. She never came back again. The end. Cinderella. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful girl named Cinderella. Cinderella lived with her 2 wicked stepsisters and her wicked stepmother. They treated her very badly and made her do all the work at home. One day, they were all invited for a grand ball at the king's palace. Cinderella's stepsisters and stepmother made her sew new dresses and get them ready for the ball. But when they left for the ball, they left poor Cinderella at home alone. Cinderella was sad and began to cry, when suddenly a fairy godmother appeared. "Cinderella, I am your fairy godmother," she said. "Don't be sad. I will send you to the ball." The fairy godmother waved her magic wand, and Cinderella's old clothes changed into a beautiful party gown. The fairy godmother touched her magic wand to Cinderella's feet, and suddenly she had beautiful glass slippers. Then the fairy godmother found 6 mice playing near a pumpkin and touched them with her magic wand. And lo! The mice became 4 shiny black horses and 2 coachmen, and the pumpkin turned into a golden coach. Cinderella was overjoyed and said, "Oh, thank you, fairy godmother." She set off for the ball in the coach. As she left, the fairy godmother said, "Cinderella, my magic will only last until midnight. Be sure to reach home before then." When Cinderella entered the palace, the entire ballroom was struck at her beauty. Even her stepsisters and stepmothers didn't recognize her in her pretty clothes. The handsome prince went to her and asked her, "Do you want to dance?" And Cinderella said, "Yes." They danced all night long, and everyone wondered who the beautiful girl was. As the night neared midnight, Cinderella remembered her fairy godmother's words and cried, "Oh, I must go!" She ran down the stairs, and one of her glass slippers came off. But Cinderella did not turn back for it and hurried to her coach. She reached home just as the clock struck 12. Her coach turned back into a pumpkin, the horses into mice, and her clothes turned back into rags. The prince had fallen in love with Cinderella, but he did not even know her name. However, he had found the glass slipper that had come off Cinderella's foot. He said, "I will marry the lady whose foot fits this slipper." The next day, the prince and his servants went to all the houses in the kingdom. All the women tried the slipper, including Cinderella's stepsisters, but none could fit the slipper perfectly. Cinderella's stepmother would not let Cinderella try on the slipper. But the prince saw her and said, "Let her try on the slipper." The slipper was a perfect fit on Cinderella's foot, and the prince recognized her from the ball. He married Cinderella, and they lived happily ever after. The end.
The Boys and the Frogs. Some boys playing near a pond saw a number of frogs in the water and began to pelt them with stones. They killed several of them, when one of the frogs, lifting his head out of the water, cried out, "Pray stop, my boys. What is sport to you is death to us." One man's pleasure may be another's pain.
The Farmer and His Sons. A father, being on the point of death, wished to be sure that his sons would give the same attention to his farm as he himself had given it. He called them to his bedside and said, "My sons, there is a great treasure hid in one of my vineyards." The sons, after his death, took their spades and mattocks and carefully dug over every portion of their land. They found no treasure, but the vines repaid their labor by an extraordinary and superabundant crop. The Goose with the Golden Eggs. One day, a countryman going to the nest of his goose found there an egg all yellow and glittering. When he took it up, it was heavy as lead, and he was going to throw it away because he thought a trick had been played upon him. But he took it home on second thoughts, and soon found, to his delight, that it was an egg of pure gold. Every morning the same thing occurred, and he soon became rich by selling his eggs. As he grew rich, he grew greedy, and thinking to get at once all the gold the goose could give, he killed it and opened it, only to find nothing. Greed often overreaches itself. The Lion and the Mouse. Once when a lion was asleep, a little mouse began running up and down upon him. This soon wakened the lion, who placed his huge paw upon him and opened his big jaws to swallow him.
"Pardon, O king,"
cried the little mouse.
"forgive me this time. I shall never forget it. Who knows but what I may be able to do you a turn some of these days."
The lion was so tickled at the idea of the mouse being able to help him that he lifted up his paw and let him go. Sometime after, the lion was caught in a trap, and the hunters who desired to carry him alive to the king tied him to a tree while they went in search of a wagon to carry him on. Just then, the little mouse happened to pass by, and seeing the sad plight in which the lion was, went up to him and soon gnawed away the ropes that bound the king of the beasts.
"Was I not right?"
said the little mouse. Little friends may prove great friends.
The Ass and His Master. An ass belonging to an herb seller who gave him too little food and too much work. One day, the ass made a petition to Jupiter to be released from his present service and provided with another master. Jupiter, after warning him that he would repent his request, caused him to be sold to a tile maker. Shortly afterwards, finding that he had heavier loads to carry and harder work in the brick field, he petitioned for another change of master. Jupiter, telling him that it would be the last time that he would grant his request, ordained that he be sold to a tanner. As the ass found that he had fallen into worse hands, and noting his master's occupation, said, groaning, "It would have been better for me to have been either starved by one or to have been overworked by the other of my former masters than to have been bought by my present owner, who will even after I am dead tan my hide and make me useful to him." He that finds discontent in one place is not likely to find happiness in another.